So next up on Wrestlecast, the legend Stone Cold Steve Austin. How are you, Steve?
Good, man. How you doing?
Really, really good. Thank you for coming to London.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. I enjoy being in London.
Yeah, last night you went out a few beers.
A few pints.
How many beers?
We kept it down last night. I think about 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Had to look good today.
What beer are you drinking over here?
Well, last night we were drinking a Guinness, and then one of the guys had some kind of beer. I think it was a Kronenberg or something with some lemonade tossed on top of it. So I tried one of those. That was a little different, but it was a Guinness. And then back to the room for some fish and chips. So the diet's been kind of brutal over here.
I bet backstage you can't drink lemonade on your beer, can you, in wrestling?
No, it wouldn't be a good thing for the Stone Cold gimmick. It just kind of wouldn't work out there crashing a few lemonades together. I don't like it.
Steve, I want to start off, and I don't want to start off on a sour note, because obviously you grew up watching World Class.
Yeah.
And Gary Hart passed away this past weekend.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Your thoughts on that?
I got a message the other day from Kevin Von Erich, and he told me that Gary had passed away, and then so I got on the internet and started checking it out. I couldn't really get a whole lot of information on it. I guess it was a heart attack or whatever it was, and man, it was a bad deal. I mean, I guess he went peacefully, and it was kind of unexpected because he just got finished doing an appearance, and by all accounts, he was in good health. So, I'm going to miss that guy. He was kind of instrumental early on in my career when I first came into Dallas. I trained with Chris Adams. And then got into business and then worked for a while. And that was after Jerry Jarrett had just bought the promotion, World Class from Fritz. It was USWA. That started going downhill. Then I started working for Gary Hart. And me and Rod Price, the California Stud, formed a little tag team, both with the pretty blonde hair and all that stuff. And we worked for Gary Hart. And I watched some of the videos that the World Class History DVD, one that you've seen and another that you haven't seen that you're waiting on, right?
The WWE version of it, and there is also the other unofficial one, which apparently is very good. We can't get it over here. I've ordered it from Amazon. It'll take about 3 weeks to get here.
Give me your address. Oh, you're going to get it, though?
I've ordered it,
okay.
But it's 3 weeks.
But Gary Hart does some extensive interviews on that, and he talks about booking that territory and the building stars and bringing in the Freebirds to work with the Von Erich. So the guy, he was just so full of stories, and I just, tough loss. Wish he was still here.
Yeah. What are your memories of those programs that he booked?
Well, when I first started watching, I was coming up on Houston wrestling, and then, I got that Mid-South and Power Pro, and then all of a sudden, I started seeing Gary Hart and, the World Class stuff. And, when I was in Denton, Texas going to college, I mean, everybody who was anybody, watched the Von Erichs. I mean, because that program was so hot. So that's when I was really watching, what Gary Hart was doing from a managing standpoint, and also not knowing, but knowing now that he was booking it, what a brain he was behind the scene.
What were your thoughts about the fact that WWE didn't put the graphic up at the weekend on Raw? Because I stayed up, watched it 2 o'clock in the morning here in the UK, expecting the in memory of, and it wasn't there. And bearing in mind they're trying to push this DVD, I just thought that was completely out of order.
Well, we were just talking about that because I was wondering the same thing, and it's very surprising, and I don't know why that would have happened. And I guess it doesn't make sense to do it next Monday. So
yeah.
I don't know what you do, but it doesn't make sense to me at all. I mean, how could it have been an oversight? And I would, just like you, they promoted the World Class DVD, so really there's no excuse for it.
Do you watch any old YouTube stuff? Because there's so much of old Steve Austin on there.
No, every now and then someone will email me something that I've done or that they have of me on YouTube. I don't go and seek it out because some of that stuff I did back in the day when I was green as grass is so brutal, and I was like, man, I really sucked. But, I watch other stuff, on YouTube from, whether it's people shooting or stuff like that at the shooting range or some of these other guys. But I don't watch my stuff at all. I've seen it enough.
Yeah. Let's talk about Beautiful Bobby, because I know you're a big fan of him at the time, and obviously his career's taken a very different path to yours. Hell of a worker, and in the early days of Steve Austin, he was pretty much instrumental in, teaching you how to work, from my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. I never forget the first time I got in the ring with Bobby Eaton. Of course, I was a big fan of his, from watching him, being in the business longer than I have been. And it was such a pleasure to get to work with that guy. And it was kind of a real 50-50 deal out there as far as kind of who called the match or how everything worked in the ring. From my early days in World Class Championship Wrestling, anytime I got out of the ring, I was traveling with guys like, gorgeous Gary Young, Billy Travis, Matt Bourne, Jimmy Jack Funk, guys like that. And anytime I'd get out of the ring, after taking a shower or whatever, I'd ask these guys, I'd say, hey, Gary, why did you do this? And I'd ask, all kinds of questions about psychology, and that's how I learned. And then when I started talking to Bobby, because he's always so good in the ring, his timing was impeccable, he's a great bump taker. If you ask Bobby Eaton why he did something, he'd just go, oh, hello. Because he didn't know. He was the guy that just did it. He wasn't a great teacher, but he was so awesome in the ring and just one of the sweetest guys that I've ever known in the business. And Bobby was the kind of guy who carried a gigantic bag of stuff, his gear. And then, like, if somebody needed some toothpaste or toothbrush or some deodorant or a razor blade or a dental floss or whatever, Bobby had an extra one in his bag, and then he's always handing out candy to all the boys. So he's a real sweetheart, man.
Yeah. What was the last time you saw him?
Shoot, it's been a couple of years, and I can't remember. What's he doing now? I just heard a few stories, and some things weren't so good, so I don't know what he's up to.
He wasn't having a great time, and he's doing a couple of indie dates here and there, but, probably still a great worker.
Oh, he'll always be a great worker.
Yeah, and I think, Jim Cornette's philosophy of the young kids who come in, give them tapes of Bobby Eaton. That this is a guy. I'm big on that. Let's talk about WCW. You go next to it. This is when I first really got the Steve Austin thing. And as a kid, growing up as a wrestling fan, we started getting WCW over here. Hollywood Blondes, what a team! From Hollywood, California.
Yeah. At that time, I'd never even been to Hollywood, California. I knew Brian from when I first came into the company. Of course, I'd been watching WCW on TV, and I thought he was a great worker, good-looking guy with a great body and all that, high-flying. I came in, I did my thing with the World Television title and got screwed around, and all of a sudden it's time to do something different. And at the time, I was about to get the U.S. belt. They're going to put Harley Race with me. He's going to be my manager. All of a sudden, I go down to, I don't know if it's Dothan, Alabama, or Columbus, Georgia, wherever it was, and Brian Pillman comes up to me. He goes, "Hey, Steve, we need to think of a finishing move. We're a tag team now." And, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, man? I said, I'm fixing to do a singles deal with Harley Race. Everybody loves Harley Race, one of the all-time greats. So I'm licking my chops. And he goes, no, Dusty said we're a tag team now. So, boy, what I do, I marched down to Dusty's office and said, "Hey, what's going on?" I was supposed to do a deal with Harley. And he goes, "No, we're going to put you guys in a tag team." Basically what happened was they put us together basically as an interim tag team to get other tag teams over. And so, kind of begrudgingly, I said, well, okay, I was going to do what they told me. So we made this tag team. I had my stupid trunks on. He had those Bengal trunks on. And turns out we just kind of clicked. Yeah. And the chemistry wasn't, it didn't happen immediately in the ring, but we clicked as people. And then, we started traveling down the road together. And everything kind of just happened from there. And Brian came up with the name, the Hollywood Blondes, which had been done a few times. Yeah. But, hey, why not redo it? And he said, "Hey, Steve, every great tag team's got to have matching trunks." So we get the matching trunks, and then we get the vest made. And that's all Brian's idea. And he goes, "We need to get some gold chains." So I said, "Why do we need gold chains?" He goes, "I think it'd look good on TV." So Brian gets the gold chains. That was all Brian's idea. And, man, we had a blast working together, and we really turned into a heck of a tag team, and we really complimented each other's styles. So after we had a pretty good run with never really a green light push, they decided, okay, we're going to break you guys up. And like, why are you going to break us up? It don't make sense.
This is Dusty who said, I believe he said that this team's got legs.
It didn't make sense. All of a sudden now we're feuding with each other after they split us up, and we were the best tag team come along in 10 years, and it didn't even green light us. So it was a very confusing time. But Brian was one of the best friends I ever had in the business, and, I wish he was still around today.
Yeah. Do you think they split you up because they're stupid, or they did it on purpose? They didn't like young guys getting over?
I think they did it on purpose because it doesn't make any sense. You got guys that are starting to get over. I mean, we were natural for merchandise and stuff like that. We had one little chump change T-shirt out. I mean, but there's so much you could have done with that gimmick with the cameras and those little clapboards that Brian was using. So it was just basically, hey, they're getting over. We don't like it. Let's shut them down.